So there really is a lot of rapture fever out there right now. And, praise the Lord for people who are anxiously anticipating the return of Christ and people who love his appearing. I'm one of those people. Can't wait until I can see Jesus. And I've been on this journey for a long time now, looking at the scriptures, particularly the book of Revelation, as well as diving into many other prophecies, many other passages in both Old and New Testaments, from Genesis to Revelation, as well as looking at the feasts of the Lord, because I think the feasts of the Lord are prophetic, and not only do they provide prophecy about what to expect, about what is happening in God's big plan of salvation and redemption, but they also give us dates. Okay, they give us prophetic dates. So I've done a lot of videos on the prophetic aspects of the feasts of the Lord, and they're far deeper, far more layered and nuanced than I had any idea until I started doing this deep dive into the prophetic nature of the feasts. And every feast comes with a date. And those dates actually apply even during the end times. They applied in the first century with Passover, with first fruits, with Pentecost, and they are going to also apply with regard to the second coming of Christ. They have prophetic implications. So what I want to talk about now is the Feast of Trumpets this year. I did a little mini series on the Feast of Trumpets and what I think its prophetic significance is. And I know a lot of people have attached the rapture to the Feast of Trumpets, and like I've said in previous videos, if that ends up happening, no one's going to be happier than me. That is something that people are talking about. However, after all the research that I've done, and after just going through the book of Revelation with a fine-tooth comb, going through the Old and New Testament allusions, passages that are alluded to, that amplify, help us understand the passages in Revelation. After doing all of that, my understanding is that the Feast of Trumpets will come and go with no rapture. Okay, but that doesn't mean our rapture can't take place this year. And it doesn't mean that we can't actually know about when it might happen. So what can we expect then on the Feast of Trumpets? People have asked me this, and if this is our year to go, certainly something must be happening on the Feast of Trumpets. Is there something that we can kind of anticipate or look forward to so that we can understand that we're kind of rapidly approaching this time when we'll be leaving? So those of you who've read my book or who've watched my videos on convergence will know that what I'm waiting for is actually a sign. I'm waiting for the sign of the dragon, which is that second sign of Revelation chapter 12. So that is the sign I'm looking for. There's various components and parts to the sign, and one of those components is a war in Israel, a huge invasion. So as I'm thinking about all of this, I just sense the Lord saying to me, hey, Brenda, what do you see on the horizon out there? I've been looking at the UN Assembly that's going to be taking place, I think, beginning September 22nd. And this is very significant, and they're moving it from New York. Basically, it's so that the Palestinians can present their side for creating a two-state solution for the problem in Israel. Okay, so what I'm seeing here, though, over the course of the next few weeks, Israel is going to get the whole world mad at them. Everybody is going to hate them. Nations that formerly had supported them are not going to support them anymore. Remember that the sign of the dragon is about Israel being in a big invasion or war and isolated. Because when a woman is having a baby, she is doing it alone. Okay, there is nobody else who is going to push that baby out. That's her. And childbirth back in the day was life-threatening. A lot of women did not make it through childbirth. So what we have here is extreme pain, extreme agony, with the possibility of not surviving, and being all alone. And I'm looking at what's going on in the world, how the nations are aligning themselves against Israel. And you got to think about this. Israel, tiny little country that's been in existence for like 77 years. They are the focal point of the world. They are one of the main focal points of the world. And the events that are going on in that nation are the focal point of the United Nations meetings that are happening. Of course, they're going to talk about a lot of other things as well, but this is going to be the big deal. Two-state solution or whatever. Israel, between now and then, and actually probably ramping up exponentially, once the Feast of Trumpets hits, right around September 23rd, it's going to go ballistic. Okay, it's going to go ballistic. And in the past, like years ago, I was saying that the United States would not be in a position to help Israel in her hour of need. We're not going to be able to help her. And all you have to do is look at the world stage and the things that are happening with the United States and Venezuela. And just recently, Russia and China and India and a whole bunch of other nations comprising almost half of the world's population and like 40% of the world's GDP, all gathered together in support of each other. And when India sort of tossed their hat into the ring over there, I was like, well, that's it. Because they tend to be not wanting to ally themselves with anyone in particular, but just, do whatever's the best deal for them. But they've decided the United States is not the best deal for them anymore, and they are going to cast their lots with the kings of the East, basically. So what needs to happen before our rapture takes place in early November, most likely early November, is that Israel has to be totally isolated by basically all the countries of the world. All the countries of the world have to have this desire to see Israel annihilated. And that is the travail of the woman. That is when Israel has her life threatened. And that is going to escalate, I believe, once the UN meetings start to take place, which is right over the Feast of Trumpets. So that is how I see that happening. And then once we get into October, once we get into the middle of October, it's just wars, and rumors of wars. And there are other things that are going to be happening as well. And we're going to see this ramp up, I think, toward more pandemic stuff, plus more signs in the heavens, and the beginning of the economic crash here in the United States. And of course, it'll have repercussions throughout the world. Even though I don't hold to the idea of a rapture, over the Feast of Trumpets, I do believe that 2025 could be the year of our catching away. And if that is the case, then the scenario that I've sort of spelled out, that like anybody who has eyes to see, everybody knows, that everybody is going to hate Israel. In the next few weeks, everybody, all nations are going to hate Israel. And the U.S. will have its own problems, serious problems, really bad problems. I don't know exactly what they'll be, but they'll be of such a nature that we will not be able to help. And that's how that will go. Israel will be all alone at the end, except for God. God's going to come in at the last minute and do a rescue. But the rescue is temporary. The rescue is temporary, and it will only last about 5 months. So I just thought I'd get on here today and just talk a little bit about that. I have, people who've asked me, so what do you think is going to happen over the Feast of Trumpets? Can you be more specific about that? And so I hope this has helped you a little bit. So when it comes to we don't know the day or the hour, well, we don't know the day or the hour of one thing. And that's when does the day of the Lord begin? We don't know that. I don't know that. It's not on my chart. Okay, it's the big question mark there. I don't know when that is. And there's going to be a rapture that's associated with that. I don't know when that is either. But there are many, many other events that are going to take place that we can actually know when they're going to happen. because they will fall on a prophetic feast day. That makes sense. I'll talk about this in more detail in another video coming up. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the comment section, and we'll see you on another video. Till then, have a blessed day.